Consequences of broken covenant. Judgment on Israel and Judah from the book of Amos, chapter 2, verses 4 through 8, the King James Version. If a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeded out of his mouth. A principal understanding I've gathered from this lesson is the fact of the judgment on Israel and Judah is not only because of their wrongdoing in general, but also because of the oath, the vow that they made unto the Lord through Moses. They broke that vow, not once, but time after time, over and over, again and again. They made the vow, basically acknowledging with acceptance that God of heaven is their God, to give honor, recognition, and worship unto him and to him only, not unto any other gods. But they allow themselves to continuously get tangled up in worshiping other gods through their interactions with other nations. They were to be an example of God's ways and principles unto the other nations, but somehow the other nations were influencing them away from God and his covenant laws, away from his principal ways they accepted to adapt their own lives unto. But them practicing this, they were breaking the covenant vow they promised to uphold, which also made them to be a lying tongue. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Judah, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have despised the law of the Lord, and have not kept his commandments, and their lies caused them to err after the which their fathers have walked. But I will send a fire upon Judah, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem. When a vow, any spoken word of promise, has been released out of the mouth of any soul, God is no respecter of person. He expects those spoken words to be upheld and fulfilled with accommodating actions that agree with those spoken words. In general, it is very important for us to be cautious of our spoken words of something to be done, even if having a sense of humor or just playing around. Those spoken words are still released into the atmosphere. Not only does God hear those words, but also the enemy hear those audible words also. And we'll try to use that concept against that person if he or she does not honor their words with fulfilled actions. When this is the case, the individual has gotten in agreement and tangled up with the enemy and his treacherous ways. The enemy is having a field day of his treacherous deceptiveness over and on the individual's life. So, if the enemy's cruel and wicked ways wound up becoming the punishment that God uses to get the individual back in right standing with him, so be it. Let it be done. If the individual trusts God like he or she stated according to their previous promise, let them humble themselves back unto God, so he can preserve them and deliver them from out of their mess. We are the ones always making a mess or allowing one to come on to us. And God is the one, through his son Jesus, whom will always deliver us from out of our mess. We opened that door and stepped in to partake because it looked, smelled, and appeared to taste good, but yet not realizing the hidden danger of snares that are ready to entangle and trap our souls. God already knows how the enemy operates, and he already knows how to bring us back unto our senses through the wicked works of the enemy. Verse 5 states, but I will send a fire upon Judah, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem. Those that we get in agreement with against God's covenant may wound up becoming the fire that we will go through because of our broken promise unto God. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Israel, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they sold the righteous for silver, and the poor for a pair of shoes. That pant after the dust of the earth on the head of the poor, and turn aside the way of the meek, and a man and his father will go in unto the same maid to profane my holy name. And they lay themselves down upon the clothes laid to pledge by every altar, and they drink the wine of the condemned in the house of their God. Whatever is against God, against God's ways, is the act of sinful ways. The sinful ways of Israel was taking advantage of the less fortunate. The help that the less fortunate was in need of, Israel was taking it for granted for their own self-gain. It isn't like they were unaware that these practices were wrong. These are some of the covenant laws that they promised to uphold, which entail them how to not mistreat others, especially those that are at a disadvantage. These laws were presented unto them from God through Moses, and they accepted those laws with agreeance to uphold, and wound up continuously breaking them by doing the opposite. They had laws they were aware of to govern them how not to sell others for their own self-gain. They had laws they were aware of to govern them of what was and what was not permitted, of how a mating relationship should be. They had laws they were aware of to govern them of how to not take for granted of other people's items that was used for a pledge. Again, it isn't like they didn't know these works were of any wrongdoing. They knew better, but they chose to do the worst. Their broken agreement makes them to be again a lying tongue, and God hates a lying tongue. So, therefore, his fiery wrath goes forth to serve his purpose, to punish or to destroy the guilty transgressor. And it is up to the guilty transgressor of what his or her result will become.